Hey, this is Kyle, and today I'm going to show you one of my hobbies, well, at least a little piece of it. You see this? This is perfect painting weather. And I am going to quickly and with a tiny bit of skill paint some miniatures. So January in St. Louis on a rainy day, it did get up around 60 because it's St. Louis. Tomorrow will probably be like 10 or something. This will be snow. I don't think that's in the forecast, but it has happened before. Shake and paint. When you go to paint miniatures, you need to wash them first and then get the primer on. So a couple days ago it was 60 degrees, and I joked and said it might snow in St. Louis. Well, here's some proof. These are the minis I primed the other day, and these are from the Conan board game. What I'm going to do is dress up the base. Put some glue on these. Take an old brush. Smear it around a little bit. Get glue on the base. I have a mix of a couple different craft sands here. This is leftover that will be on the paper. But the craft store had pink sand on sale, and it was fine for very cheap. And it's like, okay, I can't pass that up. So it's kind of nice to have some different textures. And just gonna let that dry, and I'll base up the other ones. I did switch to regular Elmer's glue. It's a little bit more liquid and viscous than the tacky glue, so that's going to make it easier to spread around. These have been sitting around for an hour or so. So what I'm going to do is take most of them and put a little drop of glue somewhere on the base. And it doesn't matter, some of the stuff comes up. So I'm going to glue these up, and then what I'm going to do is this bag of craft rocks. You can see that the rock covered up that blob of glue pretty well. So I'm going to do this to most of them, not all of them. Put rocks on different sides. Some might get 2 or 3 rocks, some will get none. So then there's some variety when you see these on the game board. Here's a little reference image from the game. So I'm going to paint some hyenas. Brown color. I get some brown paint. I put a wash in these hyenas, and I used a light brown wash, and you can see where I had the yellow on the backs of them, and there was a lot of contrast. They seem to look really cartoonish. The wash really brings everything together, and along the back legs on each one where I use black paint to paint in the shadows. The wash brings all that contrast and makes it really work well together. So the only thing I need to do is add a little highlight, do a little dry brush or edge highlighting along the face, and touch up any of the spots that I need to fix up around the base and feet and things like that. These minis are done. I did some highlighting on top around the face, the ears with yellow. I dry brushed the base with a brown. On the rocks, I tried to put a little highlighting with white, like on the peaks. They got some paint on them, obviously, as I was working on this. And a step that I think is worth mentioning if you ever try to do something like this is whenever you think you're done, get out a camera or your phone or whatever and take a look, because through the camera lens you will notice all the little places that you forgot or didn't get to touch up like you intended to. Because I did that. I took a take going, I am done, and I was looking at it thinking, yeah, I'm not. I need to fix this and this. So I fixed it, and now these pieces are ready for gameplay. Here are the second batch of minis that I primed up. And I think it's maybe 2 weeks later since I started that, and need to refresh my wet palette. Again, like with the hyenas, these are food dogs from Conan, and having a reference picture is really nice, along with decent lighting. These should be a little bit easier to paint because the main palette choices are pretty much black and white. Looking at the reference, I'm not totally sure about the red eyes, but I'll probably do that anyway, just for consistency's sake. With the food dogs, since they're pretty much gray, I decided to base coat in gray and do some low lighting with black and then dark gray around that. And then I decided to do a wash. These are a little tough to paint, actually, since it's somewhat monochromatic, so I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to create some contrast. Because looking at them right now with a wash, even though you can see like some muscle outlines and things like that, it's very non-dramatic. There's not much contrast at all. So I think what I'm going to do is do a little brown tan dry brushing on the base to make the bases stand out a little different from some of the other bases. Paint the mouth white, eyes red, and do some highlighting with white and see if that helps out. But next clip will be these minis finished up. So as I got these food dogs near finished, I realized that the base being dark didn't give hardly any contrast at all. So I went with green on top and did dark green dry brush, some light green. It's very, very subtle. But on top, I dry brushed gray and then white to give some contrast. Honestly, these didn't turn out very well. The hyenas are much better, so I'll put these on the table, even though the story I got set up doesn't really apply to these particular figures, but so you can see them in context. So here is a Conan game setup and show you the hyenas turn out really well. As I was painting, I was thinking that the food dogs, the second figures I painted, would turn out as good, but the limited palette and kind of monochrome aspect, it just made them really difficult to paint. But the green bases helped them stand out a little bit. But you see, even from a distance, they just look like a hot mess of gray. Maybe I need to do some more dry brushing or something on top, but I'll let it sit a little bit and see. So for the time being, I'm going to call those figures done. Dramatic pan shot. So if you like me getting into hobbies and different things like that, let me know. Leave a comment. I have lots of games, and I have that bookshelf and that bookshelf full of all kinds of other things like that. And why I decided to include that on my channel is, as I say often, if you see something creative online, make sure you support it. Click like, share, comment, do all that, because people being creative, that's what makes life fun, that art, that metaphor, that meaning. And anytime you get that richness out of something, that's a very good thing. So, see you next time.